Hello, this is CherylMarlene, and this is Spiritual Deep Dive. In this episode, I share a Q&A from a recent Akashic Record Insights workshop. This discussion began with this question from a participant.
The mountain that's called both Denali and or Mount McKinley, what is the ancient historical and spiritual significance of this mountain on Earth to the land it sits upon, and later to the people who've lived within its magnificent presence? And sort of following up, if you have time, what does the mountain and the land around it wish to be called?
So this is what I get. This mountain is the northernmost mountain on a chain of mountains that run down the western side of North America down into South America. It's not a continuous chain, but it's a chain. And in some incarnations of Earth, it would be like the Earth, like what we think of as the North Pole is the South Pole, and what we think of the South Pole is the North Pole. So there's some incarnations of Earth where this mountain is like the holder of that chain, like the anchor to the chain. But in this case, because it's at the, what we would call the northern end of the chain, it is a oh God, let's say a lifter or an activator. Like it's in a sense, it's like the opposite of an anchor, right? It's like what helps elevate. It's what helps rise. It's what helps emerge. And so it energetically is, especially by the people that have lived around it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, it's an experience of how the physical can be spiritually elevated in an integrated, balanced experience. Right. So in other words, let's say you get around this mountain or you start climbing it in some way or another. The effect is to bring together who you are spiritually with who you are physically, which in a lot of ways is true about a whole lot of mountains, especially the mountains that are on this chain. But over the time of it, it's been about how one connects with the infinite possibility that we live within. And part of it is like they're showing me this as this mountain that was not covered in snow at different points. So it's gone in and out of various expressions, both within itself and within its connected experience with the earth. The people of the land, the spirits of the land, understand that about this mountain, no matter what size it is, right? Like it doesn't have to be physically big in order to have the impact. And so, like there's a time even in the current, in our incarnation of Earth, that it wasn't as, like as tall as it is. But it's gained height both from physical experience and from spiritual experience that is there to lift, like turn humanity's eye to a higher point, and not higher that it's better, but just higher in the sense that it's an opening of vision, right? Like it's like looking to the horizon and realizing there's something more beyond. And so that the current energy of the mountain finds the whole name thing hilarious. like that's gonna make a difference. And like there we're back to the, the records have emotions, um, but it's, you know, but it's also recognizing that a whole lot of that is its own, like it's, to some extent, the whole motion to move it, change it from Denali to McKinley is a power play, is a power move. And, and so the mountain's just like, that's what happens sometimes is, that's the level at which sometimes people feel like they need to exert their power. And it's very much filled with a, um, well, they're saying to get a little bit on the judgy side, it's filled with a fair amount of narcissism.
Mm.
Right. And by that, they really mean that it's being done because it's a simple way to make a whole lot of other people frustrated or unhappy or,
Is there a spiritual name that this mountain has?
um, yeah, there's several over the centuries. At this point, Denali is probably as close to it in, like for what most of us could say. There's the mountain has itself has the ability to express sound. Although on a level that, like, I guess what we would say we're not going to hear, human beings aren't going to hear. And so if you're going to ask it its name, it would want to respond in that language.
Okay.
Right. And so it's, so I can't, like it's not like it's just not something that's recognizable right now to our ears.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um, the mountain also has a very distinct rhythm that is both very oh, this is interesting. So this is true about a whole lot of mountains. It's got what, like, kind of almost like jokingly would be referred to as a bass note, but it's a very slow, like maybe one beat every 3 minutes kind of pace of a very, like deep reverberating drum sound. Like like it's the, like it's the sound that you get from like really, really old, or really, like drums that are made from really old trees, for example, like the huge Japanese taiko drum would be a good example of this. And they also think that the people that used to live around the mountain, would also make these kinds of drums in, it's sort of both in sympathy with and in imitation of the sound of the mountain, because it's a calling, it's a it's a seed sound, so it's a fundamental, it's a sound, it's like it's a divine sound that emanates from the base of the mountain as
Oh,
that. Yeah. And then the the top of the mountain is what, in part is like physically guiding the mountain, right? And it has a much more of a, like a light, like flute sound. Probably more like what we would think of as like probably a bamboo flute or a wood flute. Um, because it's the sound that is generated through the trees. There's a majesty here that's beautiful. I just fills me with awe. Um, there's such a sense of presence and the presence of love in a un untethered way. Like it takes in the awareness of all that is within, let's say, within the earth plane, and stands witness to all of those various energy flows motion.
Mm-hmm.
There's no judgment. There's no, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. It's all like just incredible.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for asking the question. That was lovely. Um, yes, Pam, I see your question here. Is that what they were asking about the mountain? Is it like a catalyst or a spiritual assistant? It's like a catalyst. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, that's what a whole lot of mountains do is offer their services as a catalyst. So it's integrating physical and spiritual and then helping the person experience like the elevation of that. And they use that word elevation not in like a judgmental sense that you've got to go up to be better, but it's elevating. Like what it does is what's elevating is your perspective. It opens your eyes. It lifts your perception of the horizon because it's like you've picked up you've lifted your head. And so instead of having your head down and looking, you're picking your head up and looking, and that's where you experience the catalyst nature of the mountain. Thank you for listening. This has been an episode of Spiritual Deep Dive. For more, visit my website at CherylMarlene.com or see my article and workbook library at spiritualdeepdive.com. To join the next Akashic Record Insights workshop, visit AkashicRecordInsights.com.